In this episode, we're going to talk about how my integrator shut me down and crushed my dreams for the end of 2020 in order to keep us in alignment of selling one thing. So keep listening. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. And welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you are watching the video version of this podcast, and yes, we do have a video version if you didn't know that, but which you can watch at YouTube, on YouTube, our YouTube channel. If you're watching the video version, you know that we are in a completely different set. And where we are is we're up in Idlewild, California, and we're doing our executive team retreat. And which basically means Matt, Taylor, and I are spending 2 to 3 days up here in the woods to plan all of 2021. And right now, I don't know when this episode is going to be released, but it is September, middle of September of 2020. I have never planned a year in my business so far in advance to the point of what we're doing it now. And it's been fine, but we've always run the company by, like, what are we going to do this month? And what are we going to do the next month? And just, we always have like these large things, like our launch is going to be around this time, and we would plan it when we got closer. But when you have so many things going on, you have so many opportunities coming up. When we're doing launches that include affiliates who plan their years in advance, it really forces us to plan the whole year in advance. And it's great because now we can start working backwards now for what we want to accomplish in 2021 versus trying to grow and accomplish things by, flying by the seat of our pants. And so when we know what's going to be happening in 2021, what the goals are, what all of that stuff is, and we start working on it now, we start hitting it a lot more. It's kind of like a launch, you have your runway, and if the longer the runway, usually the better the results. And so this is what I'm looking at. It's like we're in our runway of 2021. And if you don't know what a runway is, it's kind of like, if you're going to do a launch and a webinar is going to be like the beginning of March, you have January and February to build momentum up into that point. And a lot of people don't do that. And we do that, and that gives us our biggest launches because we build momentum and excitement heading into that webinar. A lot of people just launch and they'll run ads into webinar. Like, nobody showed up to my webinar. It's like, yeah, because you didn't even create demand for the webinar. You just like opted and then all of a sudden attend. And we kind of take the opposite approach, and now we're applying that to our business. But the reason, or the point of this podcast episode is I want to talk about how to grow a business, how to grow your one thing, but having multiple offers. And that's what this episode's all about. But there is kind of a hidden agenda to this. There's a couple things that came up that I didn't expect to come up yesterday in our first day of planning. And it has to do with growing one thing. And I think so many people mess this step up. They start looking at different opportunities, or they look at the one course or one program or something like that, and they're like, it didn't launch, or it didn't do very well, therefore it's not a great idea. So now I have to go test something else. Now I have to go start a new program, or I got to find something else that I'm excited about, or I'm going to try this new strategy over here because clearly this strategy doesn't work. And they don't realize that most of the reasons why things don't work out is because of the messaging, the communication, and the marketing. And marketing, sometimes not even the marketing, usually it's because of the way you communicated it. And I'm always reminded of the story that James Wedmore tells in his video series of the Rise of the Digital CEO, where he talks about the Thigh Master. And the Thigh Master was actually a product before it was the Thigh Master, and it flopped. It was not a success at all. They rebranded it. They gave it new messaging. They brought on the spokesperson, who I believe was Suzanne Summers, and they sold hundreds of millions of this thing. Same product, but different messaging, different branding, different positioning, different offer. Again, same product. So like if you have a course and modules and things like that, you could have the same modules, the same stuff, and you could go present it and position it completely different, and you're going to have different results. So it's usually never the product. that is the reason why it's not selling. But I do know that if we can focus on one thing, so if there's something that you really want to do, and you put all your effort into that, what starts to happen is you start to master the messaging, you start to master the offer, you start to master the positioning, and therefore your product starts to sell. But I see so many people hop around for so many to different opportunities because the product didn't sell, or they have so many different products and they haven't dialed it down to one thing. But what happens is when you dial everything down to one thing, again, you start to master that messaging, but you also you create something that has the power to become scalable. And I've had to learn this lesson so many times of like chasing opportunities for money with clients, which took us away from what we were actually doing to having different offers and services. And I thought I understood it and I thought I was on a good path until yesterday. So we're going to tell the story of what happened yesterday, but I want to kind of give you guys some instructions and things to do and how do we keep everything in order? Like, how do you have one thing but multiple offers? Because that might not make sense to you guys. You guys might be thinking, well, Brandon, I hear you say we can have multiple offers, but you're also telling us to do one thing. So let me explain. Right now, we sell three things. We have three offers. So we have our course, which is the Video Forex Effect. We have our group coaching program, which is the $1 Million Mentorship Program. And then we have our service. And ultimately, they all are part of the Video Forex. We have one methodology, and that's what I view as the thing we sell. We sell our methodology, but we have three different ways in which you can access that methodology. You have the do-it-yourself course, the do-it-with-you mentorship program, or the done-for-you service. And it becomes very easy in our messaging now because everything is all about creating demand for the Video Forex methodology, but we offer the methodology on three different levels. So although we have multiple offers, we're really only selling one thing. And what this allows me to do is to keep my messaging super on point, super clear, the pain points, the problems, all of that stuff super clear, and have multiple offers at the same time. So all my messaging and marketing is still very clear. It has the same problems. It has the same benefits. It has the same communication, no matter what level I'm selling it on. And then as I bring people deeper into the funnel, they get to choose which level they want to work with us on. But again, it's one thing. I'm not running around selling multiple different things. I have, one thing about the Video Forex and a Facebook ads course over here and, a program on team leadership over here, which by the way, are all things that I probably could create courses on if I really wanted to. But I sell one thing. And now I have 100% of my effort and my energy, 100% of my team's effort and team's energy, all working towards one thing and one goal. And we hit it a lot faster versus having scattered efforts all over the place. So that's one way to do it. One way is to really look at wrapping everything in some kind of methodology. Inside the Video Forex, we talk about that. If you really want consistent, congruent messaging, you have to have everything wrapped inside of a methodology. Then what happens is your content and your messaging starts talking about the methodology, creating demand for the methodology. We show you everyone how to start doing that with your messaging and your content. But what's really cool about that is your methodology is what you sell. So it allows you to talk about what you sell in your upfront content, which now allows you to have your content do 70% of the selling for you. So I want to say it's a sneaky way. It's not really sneaky, but you're talking about creating demand for a methodology and you sell that methodology. So now you're really talking about your offers inside of your content, your program. And that's the way we do it. But I also know there's a lot of people out there that you may be looking at this going like, Brandon, I don't want to boil this all down to one thing because I want to teach three different things. I want, someone might say something like, I have a product suite. I have a course on Facebook ads. I have a course on funnels. I have a course on offer creation. And I love all three and I don't want to change that up. I have a product suite, Brandon. I don't want to do this one thing. But you can make a product suite one thing. So what I would say to you is if you have a product suite and you're like, well, do I need to pick one of those? And saying, no, you don't have to. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And the way I would look at that is how do we can take your product suite, how do we take your three products and wrap them into one methodology? So instead of saying, I'm gonna talk about Facebook ads today because I have a course on it, and I talk about funnels over here because I have a course on that, and then I'm gonna talk about offers over here because I have a course on that. I would say when you combine all three of those together, what is created? And that could be something like the ultimate funnel, because you're talking ads, you're talking funnel structure, and then you're talking offers. So I would say is you create the effective funnel method, and that consists of 3 pillars: advertising, offer, and funnel structure. Now what happens inside your content is you're talking about all 3. You have your method, which is the 3 pillars. And then as you start to bring people down the funnel, you could start to offer all 3. You could have a funnel just for one, just for the other, but however you want to do it. You could have one funnel that sells all 3 in a bundle package. You could do whatever you want. But the idea is your top of funnel and your very front end messaging isn't talking about Facebook ads one day and then this thing over here without connecting them all, but it's all under one umbrella. And I remember talking to Jill and Josh Stanton from Screw the 9 to 5. They didn't take this advice because they changed their business model around, but they were asking me messaging wise, what do we do? Because all they wanted to do was affiliate marketing and promoting other people's products, and they wanted to do 1 a quarter. He said, well, how do we take our messaging and basically boil it down to one thing? How do we have consistent messaging when we're really just promoting someone else's product and it's 4 different products? And I said, easy. Create a method that gives someone some kind of promise that incorporates all 4 of those products. So if they wanted to promote us, that would have been like 1 quarter, you're going to talk about messaging. If they want to promote James, it's all about building a business online. And another one could have been, whatever it is. So it's me, James, let's say Jim Fortin, and it's about mindset or something like that. They could have created a method that says, here are the 3 things that you need in order to build a business online. You need your messaging, you need the business structure, and then you need your mindset. And if they constantly talked about those 3 things and they said there's 3 pillars, and then once a quarter they said we're going to give you this pillar, and this pillar to our method, guess what? Well, now their messaging all year long is around one thing. And then there's different offers that make that one thing work. So you guys can do this any way you want, but the idea here is to understand very clearly what it is that you do. Stay in alignment of that. Don't chase the shiny objects. Don't move around. Don't think because you had one bad launch, the product's not good. It's nothing to do with the product. All about your messaging, in your communication, and your offering, your offer, and your positioning. So no matter what, and you got to think a little bit outside the box, but if you can take everything that you want to do and boil it down to one method or formula or process that is uniquely yours, and that's where your messaging stems down from, well, now you have one thing that's consistent, and then the delivery of how people can actually accomplish that is done through your offer. So we do it one way, which is, here's our method, here's the 3 ways you can access that method. I've seen people do it with product suites and all of the other ways. So the idea here is one thing, put all your time and effort into it, messaging is consistent, your team is working towards one goal, everyone's in this well-oiled machine that's all consistent and works very well. Now, that's how we did it, and that's how we do it with some of our students and how we do it inside of our program. The next step of this process, and it's kind of lead me into what happened yesterday, was number 1, having the right team in place to make sure that you stay in that alignment, because I know who you are as a person. Like, you're the visionary of your company. I know what it's like to see opportunity. We see opportunity everywhere, and it's really hard to not chase that opportunity, especially when you know it's going to make you money in the short term. So you need to be 2 things. Number 1, you need to have the right people who are okay standing up against what you want and challenging what you want to make sure that we're really in alignment of the vision. And number 2, they have to actually understand the vision. They have to know the vision in the first place to then keep you in alignment with it. And I'm lucky enough to have 2 people on my team, Taylor and Matt, be able to do that. And again, it takes time. It's not something that happens right out the gate. Like when Taylor first started working here, there's no way she was going to challenge me on anything. But over time, as the relationship develops, and same thing with Matt, when Matt first came here, our communication and relationships, nothing to what it is today. But both of them have open communication with me on everything and aren't afraid to do that. So, and they both understand and support the vision. They both like the vision. So that's number 1, is having the vision in the first place, Your team knows it, but then making it okay for the right people on your team to speak up and challenge you with the goal in mind of keeping you in alignment of that vision and making sure that we're selling one thing, that everything is congruent. You have to write the correct ascension model, you have the correct offerings, you have to correct whatever, and you're not chasing different opportunities. So when we came here on this retreat, we're up here in Idlewild, California, up in the forest. We're planning out 2021. I mean, we're really reconstructing the business is what we're kind of doing. And we've had that, we've personally had that offering where it's like the do-it-yourself course, the mentorship group program, do it with you, and then we had the done for you service. Well, about a year and a half ago, I think it was a year and a half ago, Matt, when we made the service ROI focus, about a year and a half ago, what we decided to do is let me back up. We basically had a problem with the service for a while. Like we had the churn rate on it was pretty high, and it was hard for us to communicate the ROI to a lot of people. And so we actually brought Matt out as a consultant because he had grown an agency already, and I knew he'd be able to help us fix this problem. One of the things he brought to our attention was, you have this high-end service, but there's no clear objective to what it is. You're either, like he said, realistically, you're either going to want it to be just a production fulfillment, like, hey, we're going to create your content and here's your content and you're good to go. Or you're going to make it an ROI focused thing and the objective is ROI. And we decided to go with the objective of ROI. And what that did over time was how to start focusing on ads and deeper down the funnel with stuff. And we still injected the Video 4X method and scripting. We still did thought reversals for people and stuff like that. But it was really heavy, more bottom of funnel, middle to the bottom of funnel versus top of funnel, which is what we were before. And the point of me bringing this up was that it wasn't totally in alignment with what the Video 4X was to a T. Because the Video 4X is very much messaging and kind of like that top of funnel content. We don't really talk about ads. We don't really talk about down funnel. We don't really talk about conversions. It's very much a messaging program. But because of the objective of the service over time, what started to happen is it started to deviate a little bit. I would say it was like maybe 50% complete in alignment of the Video 4X. But because of the nature of the objective, it had to focus on stuff that we didn't talk about in the Video 4X. So the first thing that we talked about when we got here was, what do we want to do with the service? It literally got to the point where it's like, it's going to have to be its own entity off to the side. And it really is just an ads company, or we reel it back in and we bring it back into alignment of the Video 4X. And that's the very first thing we decided to do. The very first thing we decided to do is, let's change the objective of the service and let's just have it be a production house. We call it Creative Shop. And what it's going to do is be right at the top of our ascension model, and it's going to be a done for you. So if you want to have us just come in and kind of deploy the content of the Video 4X inside your business with some ads and stuff like that, but really dial in the messaging, turn it into content for you, and then give it to you, and then boom, your content is done. That's what the service is. And it's way more in alignment with the Video 4X as an ascension model. So that allowed us to kind of take everything and move it really into one thing. Because I believe into doing one thing so much that it almost got to the point where it's like, it's going to have to be its own entity. And that company's going to have its one thing. We're going to do our one thing over here. So that was the first thing that we decided to do. So we talked about that. And so we decided to do that. We call it Creative Shop. And basically what it is it's going to be our done for you service of the Video 4X that we're going to offer to our mentorship students first. So once they get their messaging dialed in the Video 4X, it's like, great. Now that you're getting ready to deploy it, do you want to go hire your own editor, or do you want to just go into our Creative Shop and we do it all for you? And now it's in complete alignment with our offerings and with what the Video 4X is. Now, the second thing that came up, and this is the really important one that I wanted to talk to you guys about. The second thing that came up is I had this idea of starting a mastermind. And we were going to do it at the end of the year in December. And it had nothing to really do with the Video 4X or messaging. I thought it would have been really cool to call it Beyond the Message, because it would have been more around business development, helping businesses that are around 150 to 500,000 a year get them on track to scale up to 1 million. And I thought it would be really cool. I thought it would be a great revenue generator for us. I thought it, could potentially bring in $400,000 at the end of December, which would have been great because we're actually heading into our biggest launch in the beginning of 2021. And we broke down the numbers of our goals and what we need to hit. And we determined we need to spend around $200,000 to $250,000 in ads to hit that, with no launches or nothing coming in January, February. Obviously we have our reoccurring stuff that comes in, but it's a little scary to spend that much money, at least for me, heading into that. So I was like, great, the Mastermind would be a great opportunity to bring in some money at the very end of it. And we get to use that money to carry us over into the beginning of our launch. And so as we started to talk about it, Taylor started to raise a lot of questions. She's like, okay, so what is this about? Is this attached to the new level of the agency? She's like, is the Mastermind something where it's like, cool, they get to go in the Mastermind and they get the creative shop? Is this an element of the creative shop that all works together? I was like, no, it's completely different. Has nothing to do with the creative shop, but we could tack the creative shop on it if we wanted to. But really, I just thought this would be this really cool thing that we could do at the end of the year. And then she started to question it more. Well, how does that help with our ascension model? And then she started asking more questions like, great, you want to do a thought reversal course before the Video 4X course on Evergreen. Then you want to do the Video 4X course. Then you want to do a mentorship course. Then you want to do the creative suite. And then now you want to add a Mastermind in there. Where does that even fit into all of this stuff? And I started to look at it and I'm like, crap, she's completely right. It's not relevant to what we're doing. It has nothing to do with messaging or the Video 4X. And now we actually have 5 offers that are not all in alignment. They're not in alignment at all. By adding in the Mastermind, we are now not selling one thing anymore at all. It's not even close. Basically what's really funny about it is we took our service and made that in alignment because that was getting a little bit out of alignment. We removed that into alignment. And then here I am trying to throw something else into the mix that now is pushing us back out of alignment as soon as we got into alignment. And then when they, Matt and Taylor started asking me more questions, we started digging deep into it. Why did you want to do this? My first answer was like, I just thought it was cool. I just thought it'd be really fun and I was looking forward to it. And then the next question was like, well, I also thought it'd be a great revenue generator for us. And then when it really boiled down to is, and just so you guys know, it's on a personal note, I really want to buy a house in Sedona. And I want to start getting into investment properties and stuff like that. What it really was is I was like, that'd be a nice little chunk of change that I could use as a down payment on like a house somewhere. And then they both kind of looked at me and were like, yeah, that's not a good reason to make a business decision. Like, we're not going to make a business decision because of a short-term want. It doesn't make any sense to do that. But it was really interesting. They both said, if you really want to do it, we'll do it. But you really need to look at all of these things. And I'll just be honest with you guys. It was emotional for me because I was so set on doing it. I had this expectation of here's what the rest of the year is going to go and look like. And here's what my life's going to look like. And then it just got ripped apart in like 20 minutes. And in those moments, you have to just live in gratefulness that you have those people on your team in the first place. Number 2, you have to get out of your own ego and know that the people on your team, if they're in alignment of the vision, they're doing it for the best interest of the company. And your ego is going to want to be like, no, I'm the boss and I'm right. You have to get rid of that and shed it. And you have to let your team guide you to the vision because you can't get there by yourself. And they can see the things that you can't really see. They're the ones that are in the operation, so they know better than they should know. If you have a functioning business, your team should know better than you the operations of the business and what you can handle and can't handle. And if you're not going to listen to that, then why do you even have those people on your team in the first place? And I had immediate flashbacks to 2 moments. Number 1 was when Taylor first started with me and we launched a Video 4X beta course, a group coaching program, and a service all at the same time with just us 2. And it was a nightmare. We did it and it was great, but it was very stressful, like literally tears. There was a lot of moments of me being overwhelmed so much it brought me to tears. It was a tough time. And then the second one was when Matt first started here. We took on this massive client doing something that we don't offer, but we could have done, but we don't offer it. And that was a big headache and a disaster too. And we wasted months worth of effort and time that could have been focused on something else. And as soon as they started questioning these things and asking me these really powerful questions of like, how we can fulfill on this, or is this in alignment with everything we want to do? Is this really a long-term thing? Are you chasing money right now? What's the reason for all of this? I just immediately knew I'm about to make the same decision I made those two other times that led to a very tough time. And I remember Taylor's like, we have an event in October. Have you created your slides yet? I'm like, no. She's like, we have a new video series that we're filming. Do you have the scripts done for that yet? I'm like, no. She's like, you have another event in the early January. Do you have that done yet? I'm like, no. She goes, we're creating a brand new launch in the middle of all of that. Do you have anything ready for that? And I was like, no. Do you have, what was the other thing? There's one more thing. Oh, and then I was like, I want to start redoing parts of the course. She's like, have you even thought about redoing parts of the course? I was like, no. And she's like, so then you want to add another mastermind on top of all of that and fulfill on all of that and take away the time and the effort from the things that are actually making us money right now. And I was like, yes, that's basically what I was saying, but I don't want to do that. So you have to remember that everything needs to line up. And it's been really great being up here with Matt and Taylor and having them on my team, knowing that they're going to keep me in alignment of keeping everything under one thing. And I think it's really important for you guys to understand a couple lessons here as we wrap up this episode. Number one is you guys have to keep things all in alignment with one thing. It doesn't mean you can't have different offers, but there has to be one big North Star of what your company does and how you do it. If you want a product suite, go ahead, have a product suite, but make sure that product suite is wrapped under one umbrella of one North Star, one vision, and one way to create that vision, and one way that people get to live that vision, meaning your students get to come in and they get to be a part of your vision because they now get the promise of whatever it is that you guys deliver. And if you want to divide that up between 3 courses that they go through, great, that's a product suite, go and do that. If you want to have an ascension model like we have, and they get the one method on 3 different levels or whatever, you guys can go that route. But if you want clean, clear messaging, clean, clear avatars, you have to go that route. And if you do it, I'm going to give you guys one tidbit I haven't talked about yet. If you go the ascension model basically should speak to different people, meaning that someone at the bottom of your ascension model and someone who takes you up on the offer at the top of your ascension model might be different people revenue-wise or whatever it is. What you want to do is look at those 2 people and find the common problems they both have, and that goes in your front-end messaging. So a lot of people come to me like, well, Brandon, I work with someone who is like, let's say you're a fitness, health and wellness fitness person online. Like, well, I have the person who wants to lose 50 pounds, and then I have the person who is already in shape, but they want to get toned. How do I speak to both of them at the same time? Because my ascension model speaks to both of them. I would say, what are the common problems and thoughts that they both have? Put that in your front end messaging. That way you are communicating to both of them at the same time. Then when it comes to your offers, they get to pick which one they want. So that's lesson number 1, keep things in order, and you can have multiple offers. Lesson number 2 is be very clear in what the vision actually is, and make sure your team knows this is the vision and these are the products that we offer under that umbrella. And then the lesson number 3 is to make sure your team knows to challenge you on those things. They're very clear on the vision, they support the vision, and that they know that part of their job is to keep you in alignment with that. And when that happens, you need to get out of your ego, listen to them, trust them, and no, you don't always know what's best for your business. So with that said, what I would love for you guys to do is to tag us on Instagram at I am Brandon Lucero. Let us know if there was a big breakthrough that you had, what your favorite moment was, and my team is going to pick their favorite response or answer, and we're going to give that person a $20 gift card. So go ahead, do that, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.